Hi there and welcome to Studio SN. My name is Sara Naumann and today we're creating stamped backgrounds with pearlescent embossing powder. Pearlescent embossing powders work just the same way regular embossing powders do. They give your stamped images texture and shine. Here I've used red pearlescent embossing powder to create my stamped background. I've also used it for the focal message on the front of my card as well. And I wanted to show you the embossing powder as it comes in the jar because it may be a little bit surprising. So as I mentioned, it's the red pearlescent embossing powder, but in the jar it looks white. It is white. So just by comparison, here is the orange pearlescent embossing powder, here is the green pearlescent, and here is the violet pearl. So white, 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 and white. As you can tell, as with most embossing techniques, the magic really happens once you start heat setting it. So I wanted to show you what they look like in the jar, just in case you've seen them at your local store and kind of thought, well, I'm not sure what to do with that. Let me show you. So first I'm going to move aside my card and I'm going to bring in a piece of black cardstock, and I put it up onto a piece of folded white scrap paper. So I'm going to do my stamping on here and then I'm going to slip this inside to do my embossing. So again, I've got my embossing powder on hand and this is the red pearl, and I'll go ahead and take the cap off the jar just because I know I'm going to need to work quickly. Now for this, of course, I need to have a stamp to do my stamping with. And this is the Chrysanthemum stamp. This is also from WOW Embossing Powders. So it's a nice big background stamp. You can see in proportion to my hands how large this is. So I'm going to share a little tip on how to get some good leverage when you're stamping with this. And of course, I also need to have my embossing ink, and I'm using a Versamark for this one. You can use whatever embossing ink you happen to have on hand. So first things first, I need to ink up my stamp, and to do this I'm just putting the ink to the stamp rather than doing it the other way around. I find that this works especially well when you're working with large background stamps, and because this really is a biggie, I do want to make sure that I'm applying ink to all areas of this beautiful chrysanthemum. So I'm going to go around here again. I'm pressing the ink pad pretty firmly on here because of course it's clear. It's hard to tell where else you may be getting it. Now I'm going to quickly turn this over and place it right down onto my cardstock. Now here's the trick. Because this is a large stamp and I need to get some leverage on here, I'm going to stand up and try not to hit my head on the camera as I do this. It does work better if you're stamping and pressing directly above your cardstock, but I'm going to give this a go like so. Okay, done my best there. Sitting back down again. I'm going to turn this over and pull this piece off here and put this quickly inside my folded piece and sprinkle on this embossing powder. And you can be quite liberal with the embossing powder because with this folded piece of scrap paper, it means I can just tap this off and return all of that embossing powder right back into the jar. So not quite perfect, but I think good enough for our purposes today. So I'm going to use this to just funnel my embossing powder right back into the jar so nothing goes to waste, and set this aside. Be sure and put the cap back on before you start embossing. I'm working onto a craft sheet, so I've got a nice heat resistant surface on which to do my embossing. And I'm just going to take the embossing gun and slowly move this across here. As the embossing powder melts, take a look at that beautiful color. The beautiful color, the beautiful shine, a really pretty pearlescent effect. And there we go. Look how gorgeous that is. Now it's still a little bit hot, so I'm going to be careful about touching it, but I can't wait to tilt that up for you so that you can really see how beautiful that is. So take a look at that shine, pearlescent shine, and beautiful red color on that black cardstock. Now before we take another look at the card, I wanted to show you some of the other colors, the other embossing colors. So I'm going to move that aside. I showed you the orange pearlescent, and of course in the jar it looks white. Well, here it looks beautiful and kind of a soft tangerine color when stamped onto the black cardstock. And here is the green on here. Now I wanted to show you something else that I did as well. I decided to do a little bit of experimentation and see if I could create my own color. And I was wondering what would happen if I mixed green and violet pearl together. So I took a little scoop of each one, put them into an empty jar, shook it up, and put it onto this, again, the chrysanthemum design. And you can see it, of course, a lot better in person, but there is a green tinge to it, and there's also some purple areas in there. Just a really pretty combination. So if you're wondering if you can ever create your own color combinations, well, the answer is yes. So let me bring back in my original card here, and we can take a look. As you can see, I've got that really nice red stamped background on there. And I've accented all of the centers of those chrysanthemums with some silver jewel dazzle stickers. Those are from hot off the press. I stamped Love You down here. This is from the Big Words stamp set. That's also from WOW. Of course, this piece has just been mounted up onto white cardstock, then onto a lavender, onto a black. With the stamped sentiment, it's onto a lavender and a white, and then I put this up onto foam tape before attaching it to the front and center bottom of the card. Here's just a little bow tied in some pink metallic ribbon just to accent the metallic shine of the beautiful pearlescent embossing powders. So this is how you can create a stamped background with pearlescent embossing powders. I hope you enjoyed today's show. For more ideas and inspiration, please stop by my website at saranaumann.com. If you enjoyed today's video, I invite you to subscribe to Studio SN on YouTube, and I'll keep you updated with a new video every Wednesday. Thank you for joining me on Studio SN, and I'll see you again next time.